So thank you so much for joining us for Making Sense of Online Marketing. I'm going to go ahead and hit record so we can go ahead and get started with that. So I'll wait for that to pop up. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining Making Sense of Online Marketing for technology service providers today. Whether you've been using marketing strategies, but you're looking to amplify your efforts, or you're just getting started with these online tools and you're not really quite sure to start, you're in the right place. We're going to give you some really great information today. We know that prioritizing generating leads for your business through online marketing means growing faster and becoming more profitable. And while the tech industry is being looked at as a leading source of information and knowledge and assistance for said platforms, we understand that some of you may need a little help of making sense of it all. So that is our goal today. In fact, implementing, and actually let me make sure, I think here, okay, there, I think my screen was paused there for a moment. So I just wanted to make sure that is working for you okay. All right, so with that being said, in fact, implementing a proper marketing strategy not only benefits you, but it also showcases the expertise that you are providing for your clients. 44% of clients will rule out a firm simply because they cannot understand what it is that you do or how you do it differently from your competition. And 30% of them are actually going to rule you out based off of the website experience that they have with you. So if they have a really bad or poor website experience, that could be detrimental to getting new clients as well, which is probably why 8 out of 10 of the first impressions with a client that you have is through your company's website. And so it's really important that we make sure that we have clear messaging, that we have a really great website, and that we're being found online easily. So building and strengthening that online presence is key for the success of your business. Basically, the bottom line here is that your clients are making their business selections and buying decisions in a largely online playing field. And so we need to make sure that our message is clear of who we are, what we do, and that we're engaging those potential clients. And it starts with the understanding of the fundamentals, of online marketing. So that's what our goal is today, is to help you make sense of it all, help you tie it together. And with that, we have a very special guest with us today. Let me introduce you to the experts that will be walking you through these lessons to help you create this online marketing strategy. My name is Jenna Schaefer. I'm a brand programs marketing manager here at Constant Contact. And with me, joining me today is Elizabeth Harr, or Liz Harr from Hinge Marketing. She is a partner of Hinge Marketing, and she is the leader in their business development team. In addition to being a nationally recognized speaker, she is also she co-founded a tech company, and she is a co-author of not one, but 2 groundbreaking books on the various topics that we'll be discussing today. So Liz, thank you so much for joining me. We're so happy that you are here.
Absolutely, it's great to be here.
Great, welcome. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and jump right in. More specifically, what we're going to be covering today. So first and foremost, we're going to be discussing how people find you online, how to set yourself up for success using all of these different types of marketing tools and marketing strategies. And then lastly, how it all ties together. So making sure that that's a cohesive plan and marketing strategy for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with how people find you online. But what we'll do first, I'm very, very curious. We want to go ahead and take a poll for today. So I'm going to have that poll pushed to you right now. And we want to see exactly where these where your leads are coming from. So what you find to be most effective, which marketing channel helps you find new customers or new clients coming in, what gets your name out there the most, and then we'll share those results with you here in just a moment. So I see those results coming in. We'll give you another 30 seconds to do that. I see those results toggling a lot, very interesting. All right, another 10 seconds and then we'll go ahead and share that out. All right, let's go ahead and share those poll results. So it looks like 32% of you said that referral circles is the most effective in terms of finding new clients or getting new clients, which is really interesting. And then your website, or I'm sorry, email marketing would be the next, the highest one with 26%, your website with 20%, and 18% with social media. So that's really interesting results. And that actually really kind of leads into our next topic quite perfectly here, because I'm sure when somebody is in a referral circle or is referring your business to another person, the next thing that they are going to do is probably go and search for you online, right? And so we want to ensure that the right information is out there. So as soon as somebody is referring your business or referring your products to somebody else, you want to make sure that your information is correct and that it's available to them. And in order to understand how those online marketing tools work for you, it's important to understand the way that different people are going to search for you online. So let's talk a little bit about that. Liz, can you share what people search for online, or when they're searching for a business or a product online, what it is that they actually see or what actually comes up?
Yeah, well, in a way, that's the million-dollar question. That's what we all want to know, because unless we do our due diligence, that's a bit of a mystery. But there's really two ways that you can be found. One is people know your company name and they'll search for you that way. But honestly, that's kind of reserved for the global household names of the world. IBM's on your screen here. Most of us are not global household names, or even national house, or even regional household names. So that means that we're going to be found primarily when our potential clients are doing a Google search in the form of a phrase that reflects their problem. Cybersecurity or data protection, something like that. So that's really, you want to do your research so you understand how is your audience defining the problem, so you can then understand what they would potentially be searching, and you want to be found for those things.
Yeah, that's a great point, and we actually talk about that in just a moment in terms of what they should be searching for and how what keywords or key phrases is best to kind of do that research. When they are looking for a certain business, you'll see here on the screen as well that there are some of the more typical things that pop up would be the paid ads that people actually pay for, whether it's an actual ad or maybe they do pay per click. So those typically show up at the top. Some of the organic searches, so that they're not being paid for, but their search engine optimization or SEO has gotten really high to the point where they're at the top of those organic searches. A business listing, which has all of the business's information, which again is super important, that you want to make sure that your information is accurate so they can contact you. If you have a brick and mortar business, that your hours are correct so they can visit you, that there's accurate links there so they can connect with you online, and then those social profiles as well, or any listing and reviews. So that's typically what they find. But to Liz's point too, when we talk about keywords or phrases that are being used to search for your business or for the products that you're selling, an example of this would be if somebody wanted to search for keywords like cybersecurity software for a small firm, right? Rather than your specific business, that's probably more likely going to happen, especially if we go back to that poll in those referral circles. That's one of the situations where somebody might actually look for a specific business or person or product, but in general, more people are going to use those keywords or phrases. A helpful technique is to run a search for your own business or products to see what does or doesn't come up, and then make adjustments from there as well. So Liz, can you walk us through this? What other opportunities do we have in this kind of searching for keywords or key phrases to make sure that our businesses are being pulled up? Do you have any recommendations for that?
Well, I think one, a very practical thing is to do what you just said. Just start Googling on things that you hear from talking with your clients, things that you generally know what you do and the problem you solve, and see what comes up, see who comes up. Because oftentimes when you do this exercise, not only do you get a sense for the what, but the who. In other words, who else is being found? And more importantly, what is your external audience experience when they're, out there Googling? So just doing a general search is really important. But the other thing is you can use Google. It's a very practical tool. When you type in, like you have cybersecurity software here, it will give you suggested alternatives, and you can kind of go down a rabbit hole.
Yes.
So you want to be careful, but just know that there are free tools and easy, practical things to help you figure out what your audience is searching on.
What's one of your favorite tools that, just off the top of your head, that you would recommend for people to use to do that?
Well, honestly, it is the Google engine itself, because that is free. Everybody has it, and it provides instant metrics on search terms and volume and things like that, and alternatives. So to me, if I were a small business and I had limited time, I would just use that.
Awesome. Great suggestion. So to your point too, when you do a search for your name or maybe a more generic term, you definitely want to do a little bit of your research. Hey, what's pulling up? And in this, it's a little hard to see. It's kind of small, but I did want to show you an example of if we typed in cybersecurity for small firms, what exactly would come up. And just like we mentioned before, you'll see a paid ad up at the top. You do see some articles written by some credible sources for recommended tools or recommended businesses. I also love the section where it has people also ask, because that gives you an idea of what people are actually searching for. And what kind of search terms or questions they're asking, which can help you, when you're building your website and building in those SEO search terms, you can use some of those search terms or those questions. And then you have some more of your organic articles and recommendations there at the bottom. So just to Liz's point, absolutely, you want to make sure that you're doing your own research using the Google search tool itself to build upon what you're doing to build that online presence. Great. So with that, we want to talk a little bit about, being found and starting to build the relationship. So I think overall, when you're thinking about trying to be found through Google or through any search engine whatsoever, you want to make sure that you're in a variety of different places, right? You don't just have one resource for people to go to, but that you're using a bunch of different ones. You want to make sure that your information is accurate when they click on those multiple search results. So there's nothing worse than when you go to one of the search results and it says that you're available from certain hours or there's a certain phone number there, and then you go to another one and it's completely different. That can confuse your audience. And going back to our initial statistics in the beginning, if that message isn't clear, it can deter people from choosing you as a business or as a product, right? And having that, again, just having that clear message for when people are starting to form their opinions about you, because that's when they're going to do it right away, when they start searching for your business. So now that we have learned a little bit more about how people find us online, let's talk about the tools that will keep them engaged. So this is where we're really going to dive deep into the must-dos or the must-don'ts of different marketing channels, which I'm excited about. And this is going to help you get set up for success. We're really excited about this. So the tools that we're going to talk about today will allow you to make sure that you have a good foundation in place for your marketing strategy. So the first one is a mobile responsive website. The second one is having an email marketing tool that allows you to continue communication with your audience after they've visited your website. picking a primary social channel to engage with your audience, reviewing listings for business referrals, because as we noticed before, referral circles are big, so they're probably checking you out and seeing what other people are saying. And then making sure that we have great keyword-driven content to help you get found through search engine optimization or through those organic and paid searches. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into our first tool, which is the mobile responsive website. More than half of the visitors to your website will make an immediate judgment about your business based off of the user experience that they have. If your website is not mobile responsive, meaning if your website does not react, reorder, or respond to the device it's being read on, that can be a really unfriendly experience for your audience or different potential clients. So if they go to your website and they have to zoom in and out or scroll up and down or side to side, that's not a great experience. So we want to make sure that it's a mobile responsive website to where they don't have to do any of that. It just reacts, reorders, and responds to the device it's being read on. Besides ease of use, there are other reasons why having a mobile responsive website is easy to navigate is incredibly important as well. So let's talk a little bit about that. And I just want to take a moment to let you know that we do have what we call the download for technology service providers that will take a deeper dive into these topics that we're talking about, specifically, the web pages that you should be using and the different best practices that you should be using as well. So we'll put that into the chat window. So if you want to read a little bit more about that, this would be a good opportunity to talk about these pages. But Liz, I'd love for you to go into a little bit more detail about our audience and having the correct messaging on their website, maybe the types of pages that they should have up on their website so that there's ease of use and it's easy to navigate, etc.
Yeah, I really think this is an important thing to explore because, I mean, doesn't it seem unfair in a way that before someone even talks to us, they're going to judge us and vet us just based on our, but that's the reality we live in. And so your website, it really has to be in tip-top shape. And of course, everyone's going to have a slightly different set of services and products and therefore different audience, and the exact pages you might need could differ. But generally speaking, we find that obviously you have to have a front door to your office. That is your home page, and I'll talk about that in a second. But then people want to know a little bit more about you. That's the purpose of your about page. And then a way to experience your expertise. That's usually your services or your products and your team. And then of course, a way to contact. So, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just nodding.
Yeah. So the key really is to think kind of like you've been talking, Jenna, what's the mindset of your prospective client? When they find you, whether they were referred to you or they found you in Google search, what is their mindset going to likely be when they get on a certain page? And then you build the messaging accordingly. So on a home page, think about it. Most of the time, people are going to get there when they've Googled your actual business name. So they don't really know much about you other than they heard you referred. So this is where you want to be very clear what you do, who you do it for, why you're different. And you just use that methodology all throughout the other pages. The About Us page is an opportunity to dig a little deeper, but not the 12-year history timeline of your firm. That's less interesting to the outside world, but why are you different? How are you different? Why should people choose you? Same thing with your services page. Avoid industry jargon like the plague or a virus. Don't do it. Have plain English so that people can understand what it is you do. And then lastly, the team page. Think of it as an interactive gateway to your expertise. So go beyond a couple paragraphs about your key people. Provide links to blogs and articles they've written. Showcase their leadership so that people really get a sense of how you're different.
I like that too, just because it helps them to make a personal connection to that business beforehand as well, right? It's building a rapport with your audience in more of an indirect way. Um, so it builds that trust without them even really kind of realizing it. So I like that suggestion.
I love what you just said. You know, everybody wants to be that trusted partner and trusted advisor, but if you can't use that as a message, it will fall flat. But a way to showcase that people can trust you is to showcase your team. Who are the people behind this expertise that you're selling? It's by far a better way than to say you're a trusted partner.
Right. Absolutely. Great. I love that. So in addition to Liz's suggestions as well, we also highly recommend that you add a sign up form or some sort of sign up pop-up tool to your website. Unfortunately, not everybody will return back to your website, so they might go there, learn a little bit about you. If your message is clear, they learn what you do, why you do it so well, and how it differentiates you as a business, but oftentimes they leave and they don't come back. But we want to make sure that we collect that information so we can continue to engage with them, continue to build off of those relationships and that rapport that we started to build. And it also allows us to own our own engagement with them in the future. So we can work that working relationship. For more information on growing your list, you can find a lot of information. We have lots of different articles and blog posts about it at blogs.constantcontact.com. So I highly recommend some going there to read up on ways that you can build your list. But Liz, do you have any resources for building your email list or any techniques that you've found to be effective?
Yeah, again, really every single page of your, so think about the reality that most people are going to spend time on your website first. And so every page of your website is potentially a candidate for an invitation to sign up for something, or more importantly, download something.
Yes.
And that's the best way to get people's emails, because you are first and foremost giving them something of value, which increases the likelihood that they will actually give you their emails. So downloadable content is by far the best strategy for getting people's emails.
And for people tend to be a little nervous about handing over their email address. So I think if it's something in exchange as well, like, hey, we're getting your email address, but in exchange, we're giving this to you. They see that added value. It's not just, hey, give us your email address. So I love that recommendation. Great. Well, now, so now we've moved into some website best practices, and we're kind of moving now into that email portion. So our second tool, which is email marketing. And now that we have started to collect those email addresses and we've started to build a list, I want to talk a little bit more about email marketing's role in your strategy. So first thing, communicating via email can be a really sensitive interaction. So we want to make sure that we make a really good first impression. And starting to put into place an automated welcome series that eases your audience into hearing from you regularly is a really good plan. Your first email, and we recommend at Constant Contact, we recommend a 3-part series, but if that's something that's out of your realm, we just even recommend at least a welcome email. So the very first email that we suggest is a welcome email. And this is where you most likely had offered them something in exchange for their email address. And so this is where you would provide that download that Liz was talking about. Or deliver the offer that you gave to your audience in exchange for that email address. We also, just like we would in person, if somebody gives you their email address, you want to thank them in person. So it's just kind of that etiquette of being polite and thanking them for that willingness for them to provide you that information. Like I said, just like you would in person. Your second email, a really great idea is to have an invitation to connect with them. So we'll talk a little bit about the importance of email plus social together in just a moment. I'll dive a little deeper into that. But if you can extend the invite to your audience and your new subscribers for them to connect with you on other platforms or other channels, then that will only deepen the relationship that you have with them, and it'll help you to supercharge your word of mouth. And then the third email, or even continued emails beyond that, would be educational resources or emails that would include content that really kind of expands your expertise to your audience. And this could be, we do recommend that beyond just your automated welcome series, that you do continue to communicate with them on a regular basis. Consistency is key. And so about once a month to start out with is typically what we recommend, but based off of how you're segmenting your list or who you're sending to, what you're sending, you might want to adjust that schedule a little bit more. But you can automate these messages too. So have them set up in a triggered series, and that way you can set it and forget it. It's a lot easier for you regarding time spent on sending those emails. But yeah, I would recommend at least planning on at least once a month to continue the communication, the education, and the resources that you're sending to your audience. Liz, what types of emails do you find that's most effective for people within the tech services industry to send out to people? What kind of content, or have you seen any creative emails going out before?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really what you talked about a moment ago, which is to offer something of value. And each audience is going to have a slightly different perspective on what their definition of value is. But for instance, let's say you have an online workshop and you want to get visibility around that. And so you're sending it out via email. Well, a great creative way to even augment the value of this, it's kind of promotional, you're inviting people to your online workshop. Well, maybe you've written an article that does a deep dive on something you're going to cover, or maybe there's a free downloadable guide that relates to whatever you're going to cover in the workshop. So that's the idea, is to combine things without giving, you don't want to give more than a couple choices for somebody to make. But that's the idea, is it needs to be a value. Make sure you've got one or two decisions and choices that they can make so that you can really nurture and get them further down the funnel and ultimately take the action that you want them to take.
Right. Yeah, I like that recommendation of making sure that whatever it is that the content that you're providing in your email, that there's not a whole lot of choices, right? Otherwise, we just kind of confuse our audience and they don't take an action anyways. So keeping that message really clear and concise. And I find too that when you keep your email shorter and you have a clear call to action, you can actually get away with sending more frequently too, because it's not as cumbersome. Yeah.
Absolutely. Less is so much more. That's become cliche almost in a digital context, but if you think about the attention span that everybody has, our prospective customers, it's seconds. So reduce amount of copy, nicely designed calls to action, very clear what's going to happen if they click on a button. That's the name of the game.
Great. I love it. Well, I don't know about you, Liz, but I get the question quite often, well, isn't email kind of outdated? It seems a little archaic, or especially with all the other types of marketing channels out there, is it really necessary that I use email marketing when I have social media? And my response to that is, yes, it's an older form of online marketing, but just like anything classic or vintage, if it's used appropriately or with the right intention, that it has a place in a modern society. And so if you're using email marketing as it was intended to be used 20, 30 years ago, then of course it's not going to work the way that you want it to work. But if because of the ever-changing digital space, its intention is not just to work alone, it's actually to work with those other platforms. So like social media, for example. So if you're using email marketing as a conversation starter, and this goes to your point, Liz, of you only have a matter of seconds, let's drive them somewhere else where they can then engage with each other. You can turn your audience into a community, right? And you're using it more as a conversation starter to provoke conversation within that community and amongst themselves, the community themselves, then it can actually really kind of help with that engagement. One of my colleagues here at Constant Contact, I always love what he says. He says social media is the party, right? So email marketing is the invitation to the party. Social media is where they're engaging, they're having conversations, they're liking your content, they're having fun with it, but how do they get there? Well, email marketing can be a really great way to overcome those algorithms and make sure that they actually are seeing your posts, and not only seeing them, but engaging with them as well. So it drives people to connect and converse with you there as well. And then ultimately, like I said, it helps you overcome those algorithms. So if you prompt an audience on Facebook or Instagram, you know, like, comment, or share this post if, that can be seen or deemed as an unauthentic conversation. So you can actually get penalized for doing so. Where email marketing, again, you can start that conversation, or you can prompt a question in your email and then drive them to those different platforms to have that conversation. You're still building that algorithm, you're still building that engagement, but you're not being deemed as unauthentic. So I like that part about email marketing as well. But again, it's not there to use by itself or a siloed marketing channel. It's there to really work with social or other types of marketing platforms. So keep that in mind when you're using email marketing. All right. So now that we've talked a little bit about email and the power of email plus social, let's move into social itself and talk a little bit more about the power of social media. So first and foremost, don't feel like you have to do it all at once. That seems very overwhelming, and really, you know, your audience typically isn't on every single one of those platforms. With the power of email plus social, this can really help you supercharge the word of mouth where you're at. So that being said, wherever your audience is at, that's where it's going to be most effective. So choose one channel. Make sure that you claim all of your listings on all the channels, but really start out with just being super active and super engaging on one of those that makes sense for you and your audience. Any social platform can be effective if your audience is there. So where should you be? Here's a pretty brief view of what the different channels are for. So Facebook is a pretty competitive space, although everybody is on there. And so you want to make sure that you have posts that weren't comments, likes, and shares, but it's great also for showcasing upcoming exclusives. The visual, Instagram would be the visual network. So if you have posts that are highly visual, or even you're trying to reply to people through direct messages or DMs to build relationships, this is a great place where you can use a sign up form through the link in your bio. But this is the visual network. So if you want to showcase a lot of what you're selling, or the services, or even you with clients, socially distanced, of course, that would be a great social platform to be on. Twitter is the what's happening right now. So this is highly engaging if you're trying to take part in a conversation of sorts. LinkedIn, your online resume. This is a great place to showcase your expertise in the portfolio or people that you've worked with before, sharing your educational articles or any thought leadership that you may be trying to promote. And then YouTube, and of course we have other platforms as well, but YouTube, this is great for educational and entertaining videos. So if you want to do tutorials or showing people how to use your products, or if you are trying to respond to customer inquiries, this is a wonderful platform to be on. So that's just kind of a brief overview of most of the more used platforms. But Liz, I'd love to hear from you. Which platform would you recommend for people to be on for tech service providers? What would you find to be most effective?
Well, you know, kind of like you're saying, we always have multiple tools at our disposal, right? And so at the end of the day, we've got to be selective and disciplined. And while each of these kind of has their own personality and purpose, if I had to choose one, I would recommend focusing on LinkedIn, because particularly for the services world, tech services included, there is a lot of robust dialogue going on in LinkedIn. It is, I think people might be surprised at just how much dialogue is going on there. And as you said, it's a perfect venue and channel for your thought leadership. And I'd like to say also, if you have a lot of video content, you can create a YouTube channel, but keep posting those videos on your LinkedIn profile and start talking. So you can think of it as double dipping, however you want to describe it. You can create a lot of synergies across these channels as well.
I really like that idea because, again, it allows you to be in multiple spaces at one time, but without the duplication of efforts. So that's a great recommendation. Awesome. And kind of piggybacking off of that too, thinking about the different kind of content that you have and the different types of expertise that you want to share with your audience. We also find that social content is easier to create when you know what goal you're trying to achieve. So typically your post or your content falls under one of these types of categories. So building awareness around your brand and what you do, who you are, increasing engagement with your audience, so getting them involved or taking action on something, and then provoking your audience to take action. So if you're trying to get them to purchase something or sign up for an event that you're having, it typically falls under one of those categories, and so that's really helpful for you to be able to kind of narrow down what kind of content that you're trying to post. Liz, what kind of content would you suggest posting on LinkedIn, so to speak? I know you shared a little bit more about that thought leadership, but do you have any other recommendations for the type of content for LinkedIn?
Well, it really is about, I like this slide because this helps put some priority around what you should be doing. So I would focus on the engagement type of content first, meaning problems that your audience is trying to solve. And as long as you address it in a differentiated way and you're not just adding to the noise, then that's the type of content that, the 10 reasons that XYZ fail, the top 3 things to think about when you're planning for this type of integration. Those are the things that get a lot of engagement because people like to talk about that. And when you've become very proficient at engaging, in other words, you're being well behaved at the party, it's not all about you, it's about giving back and offering. It's almost like you have permission for these other two, for the awareness and the action oriented, which are going to by nature be a little bit more promotional. So you might, if for people who like formulas, I like to think of like a 4-1-1 kind of rule. So for every one promotional, like you're hiring, and every one action, like you want people to click on something, have 4 engagement type of content pieces, and that's where you really build the trust and the credibility.
That's great. No, I love that ratio. It's gives you more of a specific guideline to follow, which I know somebody like myself, I like that kind of stuff. So no, that's helpful as well, because I think to your point, the other types of actions, or I guess categories, just by nature follow once that engagement starts to happen. And it also, I think, sets you apart from your competitors who may or may not be more in your face about, buy now or schedule a consultation with us or whatever it may be. If you're providing value and education, people see you as the expert, they want to work with you. So I really love that recommendation. Great. So speaking about recommendations, let's talk a little bit about listing and reviews. So we want to make sure that we're getting the most out of the referrals that we have. And as we discussed in the very beginning, when somebody is a part of those referral circles and you are recommended as a business or a company to work with, or your products are recommended to somebody else, typically they're going to Google to search for you. They might even just click on listing and reviews to see what other people are talking about. And so it's really important that we have some sort of marketing strategy or response strategy around managing our listing and reviews. So Liz, I know you have experience with helping some of your tech service clients make the most out of their experience on listing and review sites. What are some of the main listing and review profiles that we should claim? And then do you have any recommendations for ongoing maintenance with those profiles?
Yeah, I mean, I think the two you're showing here are, Google by far is the most visible, and it's so easy to do. So there's no reason to not do it. If you have a Facebook profile, then certainly make sure that is claimed as well. Beyond that, what you want it really depends on the industry. So there's a couple listing sites like Clutch. A lot of folks in the tech space are familiar with Clutch, and that's a good one to be listed on. I would just caution that some of these are paid listings and some are not. So Google is not, depending on your situation. How visible your firm is and so on, you might end up paying a lot for listings that don't really get a lot of visibility. So you just want to be careful with that. And in terms of a response strategy, we say stop, drop, and respond. So even you're going to probably get great reviews, but sometimes you're going to have the less than great reviews. And those really need to be responded to right away, because customers on the outside and people vetting you, they're not so concerned when they see one or two bad reviews versus 10 great ones. What they're looking for is, did you respond quickly? Did you respond in a sincere manner, or was it a little defensive? Those are the things that they're going to be looking for as they read the reviews. And unfortunately, they're probably going to focus on the negative ones a little more than the positive. So you want to make sure you have an immediate response strategy, and one that is very sincere and showing that you're stepping up to resolve the issue right away.
I like that. I heard one time from somebody, you're creating the response not for the person who wrote it, but for everybody else who's looking at it. And I think it kind of lends itself to that, is, people are watching just to see how you're responding, your professionalism, how promptly you're responding back to those. And so those are some really great recommendations. I really like those. Good. And this is a highly, I would say, listing and reviews are a little underrated, right? Like we know about them and we think about them and we use them a lot, but oftentimes we don't actually take the time to go there and respond to them. So it can get a little overlooked, but this can be a highly effective marketing channel for your business if you're doing it correctly. So I love that. And again, in our download, we have other recommendations on how you can, with your response strategy, and how you can manage those pages. So I would highly recommend to view that within the download that we gave you a little bit earlier. Great. So our fifth tool that we're talking about today, and it's kind of the glue that ties all of these platforms together, all of the posts together, isn't necessarily a tool, so to speak, but it's more imperative to the success of your strategy, is the content that you're using across all of these platforms, right? Content is what people search for when they're searching for keywords or using phrases to look for your business. They're consuming that through blog posts, through Facebook posts, through articles that you're writing and sharing on LinkedIn, and just sharing online in general. It's driving traffic using the SEO search terms for your business. So it can be really, really important that you're using content in the right way. Many are unaware of how blogs can be utilized to become more searchable, and starting a blog can seem a little daunting to some. Liz, do you have any suggestions on getting started with a blog, on what kind of content would be exciting for people within this industry to share, or how does our audience decide basically what to start out with, or what to write on a blog? Can you give any recommendations?
I mean, we could talk like a whole webinar just on this topic. there's a lot of layers to it, but there's a couple of key things to think about. So like you said, first and foremost, if you're going to start a blog, what should you even write about? I can't tell you how much, how disaster it is to your whole strategy if you just start contributing to the noise. So what you don't want to do is think in your mind, what am I passionate about? What do I love? Let me just write. That's not what you want to do. What you want to do is think about a Venn diagram, and on this side is the universe of things that your customers care about, the things that are important to them. And on this side are the services or products that are important to your firm as you grow. That intersection gives you a really good idea of what you should be writing about. And then once you determine that, go to your competition. See if they're writing about these things, and if they are, what's their angle? Because you want to make sure that you are writing in a differentiated manner. So with that as a platform, then you're ready to write. And quite honestly, unless you have a big team behind you, you might not be able to do more than one blog a month. You were talking earlier about maybe one email a month. If you can't handle more than a blog a month, it's better to do one a month and have it fit that criteria I just mentioned with good keywords, and you maintain it consistently, as opposed to start, stop, write about fluff, create noise. You know, that's not going to get you anywhere, and you just waste time and money.
Right. So how does, and I love the idea around not contributing to the noise, right? Just making sure that the content is effective, it's educational, it inspires people to act, or warrants some sort of reaction from them. Can you share a little bit about how, I guess, blogs tie into SEO a little bit, how that helps to boost searchability, so to speak?
Yeah. Yes. So the way we advise companies to do it is to kind of have a little map of the topics that you're going to write about, and some keywords that are a natural fit within those topics. And using tools, you can kind of determine the volume of keywords, whether you can rank for those keywords. But once you determine the right keyword, there's in the old days, people used to do keyword stuffing, which is they'd like in a single blog put the keyword 10 times. All you need to do is put it in the title, and then a couple times throughout like an 800 to 1,000 word blog. That's sufficient. But so that's where to put it. And the idea is to research the keyword to make sure it's got some volume and that you can be found for it.
That's a really great recommendation, because I always thought too that if you're repetitive with those keywords or key phrases, that's more effective. But you're saying not necessarily. You got to use it in the right way versus just using it over and over again. So that's great.
Yeah, algorithms have gotten real smart, so it detects keyword stuffing and thinks that's inauthentic content. So better to just use it in a natural form.
Those darn algorithms, they're figuring it out. They're doing their jobs.
Yeah.
Great. Well, wonderful. We do want to give you all a bonus tool or bonus tip as well. So this isn't a part of the 5 tools that we suggested in the beginning, but this one is a bonus, and it's great, especially once you've found the foundational elements or have put the foundational elements of the other 5 tools in place. So if you want to use paid advertising, it's a great way to amplify your efforts and to take the next step in really boosting your results or being seen or being found. We want to use it in the right way though. So Liz, what is the best way for businesses to get the biggest bang out of their buck, would you say, with paid advertising?
Well, I'd say first and foremost, don't do it unless you have the foundation of all these other things in place that we talked about first. Because think about, we're looking at $100 a day. I mean, some firms can spend, small firms can spend between $5,000 and $7,000 and even more $1,000 a month paying to rank for certain keywords. So you have to make sure that your messaging is differentiated and spot on, so that when you are found, if you got a great ad and someone clicks on it and they get back to your website, they want to interact with you. But that aside, if you are active in LinkedIn and your audience is there, I think that's a really powerful way to do paid advertising, because you can really target your audience. Of course, the more targeted, you can filter by type of company, size of company, industry, type of role within a type of organization. You're going to pay more, but LinkedIn is a super dynamic and targeted way to approach paid advertising.
Wonderful. Great. Yeah, I mean, if you're all wanting to start out with even just like $100 per day to experiment with paid advertising to see if it does give you any sort of results, that's a great place to start. I would recommend too that some of these ads are really great to get new signups for your email list too. So if you're thinking about at the very basics of using paid ads, at the very basic of it, you can use it to build your list, and then, as we discussed before, using your email list to then communicate out and continue that engagement, supercharging them to social media, so you can use it to boost those other efforts as well. So great, I love all of those recommendations. All right, so we have talked a lot today about a lot of different things. And just to recap, the tools that we've talked about today for your strategy, first and foremost, should be mobile responsive website, an email marketing tool, a primary social channel, reviews and listings, and then keyword driven content. And once you've gotten those foundational elements in place, even considering some paid advertisements. But how does it all come together? So this is one of the biggest challenges that I see people having, is being able to put these together and form some sort of interaction strategy. So right now what we're going to discuss very quickly, because I do want to leave some time for questions here, is how it all comes together. So this is a model, what we call engagement marketing. It's basically the best way to increase your word of mouth, and this is how all of these tools come together. This model is more deeply explained in the download guide, which we'll again put in the chat window for you to download, but it visually depicts how all of these strategies, tools, and helpful suggestions will reinvigorate the relationship that you have with your existing clients, and to hopefully build off of new relationships that you have with new clients. So the first step would be connecting with new prospects. So again, that's whether we talked about referral circles or somebody's just searching for you through Google, you connect with those new prospects and you're getting found. Hopefully they take some sort of action, you get them into your business or working with your business. At that point, what we want to make sure we're doing is providing a wow experience. And that could be through the products that you're selling or the experience that they have with you. Maybe they have learned something new on your website, or they've taken a piece of educational content from your blog. And that then drives them to entice to stay in touch. So at this point, that's where they would sign up for your email list, or maybe connect with you on social media and start following you. And that's where you can engage with them and sharing more educational posts, and reminding them that you're there as a business too, building a rapport, setting yourself up as the expert, which then brings them back to your business. At this point, it also will drive social visibility. So the more you're engaging with people, the more they're commenting, sharing, and liking your posts, the more that they're commenting on the things that you're doing online. That will build your algorithm, that'll build your social visibility, which is going to get you in front of new clients or increasing that exposure. Again, that driving social visibility too could be through listings and reviews. But again, that drives and increases the exposure that you have with this new audience, and then it drives them back to your website or through those Google searches to connect with those new prospects. So again, it's this, the yellow circle here is really the model that you want to build your online marketing strategy around to continue a relationship with existing clients, while the green circle there is really how you use that existing relationship to then supercharge that word of mouth to new potential clients. So I love this model. I think it makes a lot of sense. But again, if you need a little bit more of an explanation on how that works, you can find that in the download. Okay, so speaking of the download, Making Sense of Online Marketing for Tech Service Providers, it's a fantastic guide. It walks you through step by step on how to do all of the things that we talked about today. It has action plans for you and checklists. I would highly recommend to download it. We have the link there in the chat window. But I also do want to give Liz an opportunity, or I'm sorry, really quick. If you need help getting started with any of these tools, Constant Contact provides all of these tools within our platform as well. So if you don't have an account and you want to sign up for a free trial to try out any of these tools and get the live marketing advice and support that you need in getting started with that, we also have a link in the chat window to get you started with that free trial. I do also want to give Liz an opportunity. She has a really special offer as well. So Liz, you can go ahead and take it away with your offer.
Oh, thanks so much. I'll just be super brief. One of the things that my company Hinge is known for is research, so that it really takes the guesswork out of all this type of marketing that firms are trying to figure out what to do. So we have a version that we recently released, and it's on high growth marketing. In other words, what do firms that are growing really well and are really profitable, what type of marketing do they do? And we have a breakout version for technology services in particular. And for everybody on today's webinar, we're offering a 50% discount on the report. So the link is here. You can go check it out. If you want a little bit more information about what's in the study, you can read about it on Hinge's website as well. So for anyone who's looking for data around how to prioritize what types of marketing techniques are good to prioritize, check this out.
That sounds awesome. Thank you so much, Liz. Great. So with the time that we have left, it looks like we have a few minutes. We'll go ahead and take some of the questions. So give me 1 second. I'm going to pop open my chat screen here so we can go ahead and take some of those questions. Okay. Liz, where can we find search term frequency? Where would be a good place to find search term frequency?
Well, there are lots of online tools. Usually they're subscription based. So, you know, SEMrush is a frequently used tool. It doesn't cost very much. Moz is another that MOZ that sometimes you can get that information for free just by searching on certain terms. So that'll give you volume, but also the Google searches as well, like Jenna and I were talking earlier, that can give you volume too.
Great. The next question comes from Agnes. How do we know if clients did not find you first on social media and then went to the website? They often do not know where they first saw your name. Is there a way to tell where they initially connected with you, or do you have any recommendations around this?
You want me to take that one?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You're the expert here.
Well, okay, so what she's asking is the reason that you really need to have a marketing system in place, because it is very difficult to tell unless you have really good analytics where the first point of contact was, but it often doesn't matter. What really matters is that people are connecting with you repeatedly and consistently. So here's an example. Let's say somebody fills out a contact us form on your website because they have been convinced and they'd like to have a demo. Well, if you've got analytics in place, you might see that they've downloaded a guide, and then you can also see that they're regular, or maybe they're a follower on your LinkedIn profile. So it matters less about what the first point of entry is, because you're going to have multiple, to the points that you were making earlier, Jenna. It matters less what the first point is and more that you have enough of the tools to keep their attention and ultimately get them to become your client.
Great point. Great. Rebecca asks if they've already received automated emails from us regarding appointments and follow up on those appointments. Is it necessary to do step one? And I think they're talking about the welcome email. So is it necessary to have a welcome email if they've already started receiving automated emails regarding appointments or follow-ups that they've had?
Yeah, I think, I would say no. And I think this is to the point that you were making earlier, Jenna, that automation is your friend. And it's kind of ironic, right? We're trying to be really authentic in a digital world. And sometimes we think automation is the opposite of authenticity, but actually automation and having good analytics on what your clients are doing and what type of email they're getting and what they're responding to helps you be more meaningful in your ongoing contact. So yeah, somebody who's already answered to an appointment or they're already receiving, don't put them in the funnel that gets the welcoming. Put them in another segment where they get information on downloadable guides, for example.
Great. Great. And I think we have time for maybe one last question, although we have lots of really good questions here. Let's see here. How important are non-keyword related SEO practices? I've heard about schema, I believe, schema markup, robots, text, etc.
Well, I think those really take second place to the type of keyword strategy that we're talking about, because what we're talking about is, to use your word again, Jenna, authenticity. And there's so much going on, so much noise, so much out there. So these other types of strategies are more promotional. A keyword strategy, on the other hand, that relates to the problems that your audience has and reflects how they're defining that problem, that allows you to show up in a meaningful way, so that when you show up in their search, they're like, oh my gosh, that's the thing that was keeping me up at 4 a.m. I'm going to give these guys a call. That's really the best way to use SEO.
Great. Love it. Well, with that, we are out of time, folks, and we want to respect your time and don't want to keep you here. We know you have big things to do. So we want to thank you again for attending today's session of Making Sense of Online Marketing for Technology Service Providers. And thank you, Liz, so much for sharing your expertise on the topic. I learned so much from you today as well. So it was a pleasure having you. We hope that all of you took something away from today, that you can start putting something into place into your marketing strategy today, and look forward to helping you along the way. You've got us, you've got Constant Contact. So have a great day, everyone. Keep an eye out in your inbox for the recording and some of the resources we listed today, and we'll see you soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye now.
Bye, everybody.